On Thursday, the Philippine government lodged a strong protest against Beijing's latest move in the South China Sea, a declaration by China that it intends to establish a so-called nature reserve on the hotly contested Scarborough Shoal. The disputed territory, which has been the site of multiple maritime run-ins between Filipino and Chinese vessels, is once again at the centre of tensions, with Manila warning that the latest Chinese action could inflame regional instability. Chinese state media reported that plans for the Scarborough Shoal, which Beijing refers to as Huangyan Island, would create a protected ecological zone covering 3,523.67 hectares, or nearly 8,707 acres. The official narrative stresses conservation, declaring the area's primary focus will be the preservation of its coral reef ecosystem. Officials described the goal as safeguarding diversity, stability and sustainability of the natural ecosystem of Huangyan Island. The announcement framed the project as an environmentally responsible initiative, painting China as a custodian of marine ecology. Yet critics in Manila and beyond view the move as a strategic attempt to tighten Beijing's grip on the disputed shoal under the guise of conservation. Manila's response was swift and blunt. The Department of Foreign Affairs filed a diplomatic protest, underscoring that Scarborough Shoal lies within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, EEZ, and remains under its sovereignty. The shoal, known locally as Panatag Shoal or Bajo de Masinloc, has long been a symbol of both national pride and national vulnerability. Officials in Manila emphasized that the so-called Chinese reserve is an illegal encroachment. The Philippines has repeatedly argued that Beijing's unilateral actions are in direct violation of international law, particularly the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling at The Hague, which invalidated China's sweeping claims in the South China Sea. Though China has refused to recognize the ruling, the decision remains a cornerstone of Manila's position. Foreign policy analysts noted that Manila's reaction was not just procedural, but political. By publicly protesting, the Philippine government signalled its intent to resist creeping encroachments. Analysts said the timing, following heightened maritime confrontations earlier in the year, showed a pattern of Chinese assertiveness and Philippine pushback. Scarborough Shoal has long been one of the most sensitive flashpoints in the South China Sea. Located about 124 nautical miles off the Philippine coast, the shoal is strategically important for fishing, maritime control and military surveillance. Since a 2012 standoff, Chinese vessels have maintained a near-constant presence, effectively preventing Filipino fishermen from accessing what they regard as traditional fishing grounds. The shoal's significance extends beyond fish stocks. It is seen by military planners as a potential site for expansion of Chinese maritime facilities should Beijing decide to build structures or deploy defence assets. Even if framed as ecological stewardship, the establishment of a Chinese-administered reserve strengthens Beijing's administrative presence in disputed waters. Neighbouring states have quietly watched the development with unease. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, has struggled for years to present a unified position on the South China Sea. Some members depend heavily on Chinese trade and investment, muting their willingness to openly challenge Beijing. Others, like Vietnam, share overlapping claims and view China's moves with suspicion. By introducing the conservation argument, Beijing may hope to soften resistance or at least complicate opposition by presenting itself as a responsible environmental actor. Yet for the Philippines, the issue is not about reefs, but rights. Officials insist that ecological arguments cannot mask what they see as a fundamental violation of sovereignty. The dispute also carries wider geopolitical implications. The United States has repeatedly reaffirmed that its mutual defence treaty with the Philippines covers attacks on Philippine forces, vessels and aircraft in the South China Sea. Washington has conducted regular freedom of navigation operations near disputed features, asserting that Beijing's expansive claims are inconsistent with international law. For the US, Scarborough Shoal is not just about ecology or fishing rights. It is about ensuring that vital sea lanes remain open and international law is upheld. Analysts note that Beijing's strategy of establishing administrative controls, whether through artificial islands, Coast Guard patrols, or now nature reserves, is part of a long game to normalise Chinese authority in disputed areas. The European Union and regional partners such as Japan and Australia have also voiced concern in past instances of Chinese assertiveness, emphasising the importance of a rules-based order. Manila's protest may now become a rallying point for renewed statements of support. Within the Philippines, the issue resonates deeply with the public. Fishermen's groups argue that China's control over Scarborough Shoal has already devastated livelihoods. Environmentalists, while welcoming conservation efforts in principle, caution that Beijing's approach ignores local communities who have historically depended on the area's resources. Opposition politicians also seized on the announcement to criticise the government for what they describe as inconsistent responses to Chinese aggression. They called for stronger alliances with partners and for better protection of Filipino fishermen. While China insists its intentions are peaceful and ecological, few in Manila are convinced. To many Filipinos, the establishment of a Chinese-administered reserve represents a symbolic and practical encroachment on national sovereignty. The Philippine protest underscores the high stakes, the clash between environmental claims and sovereign rights, between unilateral action and international law, between regional power asymmetry and national resolve. Scarborough Shoal has always been more than a cluster of reefs. It is a test of principle, whether smaller states can assert their rights against larger powers, whether international rulings matter, and whether the world can hold Beijing accountable for its maritime ambitions.